Good morning. Working on answering messages. I had 11 from this class, so I'm trying to deal with that very quickly. And 3 of those 11 were from Xavier, okay? Okay. Let's see. Okay. Message to do. We have the document that says it's from Santa Barbara Community College. That's what we're going to go over today. Let's see. I need Wellman and Last Buddy are not here yet, so we've got a couple of minutes. There's actually 2 documents we're going to look at today. The first one is the Santa Barbara Community College one. And the second page is there's a Word document that I created because I had to change some of the topic sentences because I don't like their topic sentences. So I needed to correct that because they're wrong. And then we're also going to look at the sample see it here in my stuff. Okay. The sample essay that's in Blackboard. Just as a reminder, tomorrow you have to take the Grammar 2 quiz over subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement. Then we've got, good morning, Roger. I'm sitting here trying to multitask and I'm not doing a good job with either thing right now. I apologize. You have the grammar quiz tomorrow. You also need to upload a draft of your compare and contrast to the discussion board. We're going to look at that in just a second. That's what I was looking for. Week 6. Must be in week 7. The sample essay that I was going to look at. That's what I was discussing in my brain. There it is. No, that's what I mean. Must be in week 5. I'm just trying to get the sample CNC essay that we're going to look at it. But the first thing we're going to look at is the PDF. There's the compare and contrast handouts. Okay, about time. Within the compare and contrast handouts, in week 5, there is a good compare and contrast. It's not great, it's just good. So we're going to go over 2 documents today. The first is the PDF. It looks like this. So you should have gotten a copy of that. It was part of that original huge packet of stuff that we got that I handed out, that should have been handed out the first day. Make sure I make it bigger and not do something crazy like flip it around. I hit the wrong button sometimes when, trying to do multitasking is not always great, even though women are supposed to be better at multitasking. I happened to watch a show remember how we did the thing about Born to be Different? And I was watching Tough as Nails last night, which is a competition about people who do a lot of physical labor. And I was very struck by how almost all of the activities they have in this are focused on men's brains. That they have to, they have to focus solely on one time. It was very interesting, even though the competitors are split between men and women. But there are women who operate that way. They focus on solely one task. Obviously, it's not me today. All right, so we're not even going to worry about the first page. But if you look at the first page, it tells you, and again, this is one you got a hard copy on, okay? It says in here, they talk about some common organizational patterns or structures below. It's the block method or point by point. Hold on, let me hit draw since I figured out how to do it on this. I really don't want you to do comparisons followed by contrast, because that's doing similarities and differences, okay? Cross that off, and remember that point by point is also alternating. Okay, so cross off, it's about the third or fourth bulleted point, right above the connectors. That show comparisons. And we've already seen a lot of what they're doing in here on the PowerPoint. Rodney's digging through his stuff. Let me make some notes here, because we're missing quite a few bodies in this class right now. And Mason dropped the class earlier this week. Oh, there's Reed. Okay. Okay. So that's what we've done so far. I don't really want to see comparisons followed by contrast, because I'll be honest, to read a paper where you're comparing two phones, to me, the comparing is going to be boring, because there's all those features that most phones have. What's interesting are the contrasts. Because I have somebody saying, well, we're supposed to do comparing and contrasting. Well, yes, we can say that both phones have cameras on them, but when you get into the differences in the cameras, that's where it gets interesting. So yes, this has a camera like the other one, but you have 3 possible cameras, whatever. Like, I need 3 cameras. That's one of the worst purchases I've ever made. I shouldn't have done it. All right, so that's on that first page of the PDF that says Santa Barbara Community College at the top from their Writing Center. On the second page, this is the one I want to look at. It is writing a compare and contrast essay, and it gives you side-by-side comparisons of point-by-point and blocks. Remember, point-by-point is the same thing as alternating. I'm going to write that right there. I'll just put alternating. Okay? And the only issue I have is that I think some of their topic sentences are wrong. It was about 5 pages that has a Venn diagram in the middle of it. It looks very much like a PDF, an Adobe PDF. Yeah, but that should be one of the 5 pages. Okay, and then there's one that is a Word document, and I don't have any more copies of this, so. But because I want to talk about what it does well and what it doesn't do as well. But I like the fact that they're side by side, so I'm going to blow this up big enough so if you don't have a handy copy, you can look at it. But so it begins with the point by point method, and it gives you what the introduction does. It's the introduction of the general topic, then you get more specific, and then you have a thesis. And the thesis says, both cats and dogs make excellent pets, but an appropriate choice depends on the pet owner's lifestyle, finances, and household accommodations. This would have been the second page in the packet. Got it? Okay. Now, interestingly enough, if I go over and look at the block, there's no difference in the introduction in either method. So the introduction, the thesis doesn't tell the reader what you're doing organizationally. That's going to be determined by the the topic sentence of the second paragraph. But they refer, so the intro is actually paragraph 1, so I'm putting a big 1 up there. All right? And then you've got where they say body paragraph 1, which is technically paragraph 2. They tell you, and we're doing on point by point, they say cats make less of an impact on an owner's lifestyle. That's wrong. That should be sentence 2. Okay? When you're doing alternating point by point, the first sentence only contains the criteria. So if you can find the Word document, and here it is, let me make this bigger. So, and I tell you on that document, I say, here are the topic sentence changes for page 2 of C, and it should be SB, I don't know why I thought it was SMN, but, Paragraph topic 2 sentence, the first sentence in the second paragraph should read, before purchasing a pet, a person should consider the effect on lifestyle. I backed it up. I put the focus on the criteria. You don't mention the specific subjects in the topic sentence when you're doing alternating or point by point. You don't mention the subjects. I can say pets because that's very general, but I'm only going to focus on 2 pets after that. So that's why this becomes the topic sentence, okay? And then you go back over to cats make less of an impact on an owner's lifestyle, okay? And then we'll go back over to the PDF. Then it says, don't have to be watched during the day, easier to get care if owner travels. Then you've got to, within the same paragraph, you have to transition to dogs who are pack animals and they shouldn't be left alone, and it's harder to get care when away. So this is the PDF you were given the very first day when I handed out all the stuff on that. So I'm making marks on it about what's good and bad. I really don't like transition sentences at the bottom, at the end of a paragraph. If you don't do it well, it feels off topic, and that's the reason. So the page that I gave you, that's the Word document, it actually goes into paragraph 2, and it says, cats make less of an impact on an owner's lifestyle, at least a couple more sentences about kitties. Then you're going to have a transition. On the other hand, dogs require significant changes in a person's lifestyle. A couple of sentences about that. What all do you have to start doing when you have a dog? Well, they have to be let out during the day, unless you have a dog ewer. Because if you don't, they'll do whatever they need to do in your house, okay? And they also, just need to get outside. So when you look at this, alternating or point by point, by the time I have a topic sentence and at least 3 sentences about each of the 2 subjects, I have 7 sentences, so I'm coming up with a well-developed paragraph. And I only have to have 1 transition in it that transitions from cats to dogs, or subject 1 to subject 2. That's the way to think of it. Okay, we'll go back and look at, PDF's going to be over here. All right, I'm gonna not look at block again until I'm finished with this one. So topic sentence aspect 2, they use the word aspect. I talk about the criteria, the evaluative criteria, the feature, the trait, whatever you're analyzing. So this is going to be paragraph 3. And they say cats are less expensive to own and care for. You can't do that. That's going to be sentence 2 again. All right. So your topic sentence for body paragraph 3, criteria 2, is going to be another factor to consider when getting a pet is the expense of owning one. And let me tell you, they're expensive. Bless you. Okay. And now that I have I have a cat again. I haven't had a cat in a couple of years. I mean, my dogs had surgery in May. One had bladder stones removed. That was about $1,600. And my other dog had to have some teeth removed. And I just finished paying that off on Tuesday. I was really excited. So it took a while. We're talking $2,000. I worked hard. I graded a lot of papers for that. So they are expensive. Cats are less expensive to own and care for. A couple of sentences explaining that. See how it goes, transition. Contrarily, dogs tend to be more expensive for pet owners. A couple of sentences about that. So you can see how alternating sets you up. The positive thing about alternating is that compare and contrast is right in there. We said cats are less expensive. Dogs tend to be more expensive for pet owners. It's right there, and you can't use personal experience, but just if you talk about neutering a pet, that's outrageous how much it's gone up in cost to neuter a pet so that you're not raising, the animal populations out there. So we'll go back over here. So you can see food and healthcare are usually less expensive, not when they're babies, and less likely to cause property damage. Oh my gosh. Our kitten has discovered the curtains. And thank heavens all of my furniture is old because he's clawing his way up. It's wonderful. Transition to dogs, food is more expensive, overbreeding causes some health problems. And once again, there's a transition sentence. If you do one, you better make sure it works. I had somebody on their narrative at the end of a paragraph actually transition, not at the end of the paragraph, in the topic sentence they did a transition. You don't transition in a topic sentence. You can have a transition word that says, another trait, that's okay, but you can't say, I wouldn't go and say, in addition to this, there's another important factor, which is, that's almost too much information. So we go down to topic aspect 3, which is paragraph 4. Cats need to use special house accommodation. See, that should be accommodations. This is going to be sentence 2, again. We go over here and look at this. We're going to see the final issue when purchasing a pet are the house accommodations. You know, have you ever known that person that had the huge Great Dane and they lived in a one-bedroom apartment? That does not make sense. Any big dogs need lots of space, let's be honest, okay? Cats don't require much space. That should be let's see, what is it? Keep going to the wrong thing. The fact that PDFs open up in Bing drives me crazy. Okay, cats don't take up much space. They're less intrusive. And then transition to dogs, often need a yard and fence, require more safety and protective message. And once again, down at the bottom, there's that transition sentence, okay? So when you go and look at over here, so you can see how the Word document matches up with these, okay? And you're looking at, when you look at 7 to 8 sentences in those body paragraphs, 7 sentences is 21 in your paper. I got a narrative that was only 14 sentences. Does that tell you it wasn't long enough? It wasn't any of y'all.
I put like 700 words on it.
Well, that's okay. And I graded it, right? Okay. The more words you write, the more chances you have grammar errors. But, you know, 21 sentences is going to get you to 600 words a lot more quickly than 3 sentences in a paragraph. So that's the thing to watch out for. So when we go back over and look at the PDF, then we come up to the conclusion, which is the summary of the main points. You can have an evaluation or possible future developments. The significance of the topic to the author. I like what they said. When considering adopting a pet, a prospective owner must consider the lifestyle, finances, and household accommodations that the pet would require. Owners who neglect to compare these aspects will often not care for their pet in a safe manner. That's okay. It doesn't tell you which one's better. I saw, again, on those outlines, I saw a lot of thesis statements that were saying one was better than the other. Save evaluation for the conclusion if you're going to tell me which one's better. But if I scroll over here and look at this, it's the exact same conclusion. So there's no difference in your introduction and your conclusion between block and alternating or point by point. It's only the body paragraphs that tell it. So when I open up an essay and I see something that says, if I saw cats make less of an impact on an owner's lifestyle as the topic sentence on the second paragraph, I think that person's doing block because it talks only about cats. Because subject driven, and this is the subject in the sentence is cats, so that tells me that's the subject. Whereas if I see, when considering a pet, an owner should think about the impact on the lifestyle. That tells me you're doing alternating because you haven't mentioned the pet. So when you go to block, now when we look at topic sentence 1, or topic sentence, cats are easier and less expensive to care for. I don't think it's the greatest. I mean, it kind of mentions a couple of the criteria in it, but it would work. This would work as the TS, so there's not a whole lot of problems with that. But then what happens within the blog paragraph, your information looks more like what we did in that sample paragraph that you wrote for me, the personal paragraph, where you had a list of things and then you talked about those. So that's what it looks like. So you talk about aspect 1, don't have to be watched, easier to get carried. Then you have to transition to cost. Another factor to consider. So the transitions in block are between the different criteria or aspects that you're evaluating in the second paragraph, where you talk about the first subject. And I think I do deal with that a little bit in this. So block method, paragraph 2, cats are easier and less expensive to care for. Sentence 2, cats make less of an impact on an owner's lifestyle. There I'm going back to the criteria. A couple of sentences about that, you transition to the next factor. Also, cats are less expensive to own and care for. So see how there's transitions, it's just the focus is different. A couple of sentences about that, transition to the final factor. Because of their small size, cats require less house accommodation. A couple of sentences about that. So by the time you do the block paragraph, you're only talking about maybe 9 to 10 total sentences in that block body paragraph. So if I talk 9 to 10, I'm talking 18 to 20. And whereas I'm already guaranteed almost 21 if I do alternating. So if you're running short, you might need to change your organizational pattern, okay? So, And then, again, you don't need that transition sentence. So see how that's crossed off. Topic sentence 2, dogs are active and loyally engaging pets. Mine are helicopter kitty parents. They wander around the kitten. They watch it. They chased a black cat out from underneath our storage building the other day, and I thought, they chased that cat, but they're not chasing the kitten. Because it's in the house, maybe. Kind of quirky. All right, so let's go see what's going on over here. Paragraph 3, dogs make a good choice when adopting a pet. Unlike cats, see how what you have to do in your third paragraph in block is that's where you do these contrasting. So you're going to have to say, they make a good choice when adopting a pet. Unlike cats, dogs will require significant changes in a person's lifestyle. So there's my contrast coming in. A couple of sentences about that. What do you have to do? My daughter drives home every day in her lunchtime to let her dogs out. She used to make her dad do it, but I don't let him drive anymore. He's would not be the safest person on the road. I would worry about that. So one nightmare I had after he got home from the hospital was of him stealing my car keys and driving. I was like, no, can't do that. So, all right, transition to your next factor. Okay, we'll go back over here and look. It's going to talk about the expense. Let me get over there. The expense, the cost. Food is more expensive. Overbreeding causes some health problems. Yeah. Then house accommodations. Again, no transition sentence. Having so much fun. All right. When you see this document, cross off this paragraph. I don't want an optional one because this is a first-person paragraph. I don't want first person. I want this to completely be about the subjects. I don't want to see I, me, my, you, or your in this essay. Because you're not addressing the reader, even though we know you're giving this information so that we can make a choice. I don't have anybody that's comparing and contrasting restaurants. I just realized that. Everybody's doing something else. So we don't want that one. That's a big no. Okay? All right? And then the summary is the same. So I'm pounding into you the importance of the organization. Alternating point by point, the focus is on the criteria, the evaluative traits, the aspects that you're evaluating by. So in your body paragraphs, you must have a topic sentence that only mentions the criteria. You cannot mention either of the subjects, unless you say pets, or if you say phones. When thinking about purchasing a new phone, a consumer should consider availability of apps. Then I can say, the Samsung Z Fold is a great new option for people to consider. Then I talk about that. And then I would have to transition to the iPhone, because I don't know anything about anything but iPhones. So, all right? Whereas in block, the body paragraphs are controlled by the subject. The subject must come first. An excellent phone for someone to consider purchasing would be the iPhone 13 Pro, 13 Plus Pro, something like that, okay? And just be aware. You need to make sure if you're going to talk about an iPhone, it's a little I, capital P. I will go online and check and make sure you spell words correctly. Because I don't know, I don't think about it, but I figure if you're going to write about a product, you better make sure you spell it correctly, okay? Just how it works. So that is talking about that PDF. So I'm just trying to let you know it's organizationally driven. So we're going to look at the sample essay. You guys don't have a copy of this. All you have is it's in your week 5 compare and contrast folder. And this is a good essay. It's not a great one. It's good. Just to remind you, it should be double-spaced. It should have your name at the beginning. It should be a heading, not a header. If I get headers again, I'm going to be honest. If you can't turn it in formatted correctly, I'm just going to put a 0 on it and send it back to you. And then I'll have to decide if I'm willing to grade it if you fix it so that I can grade it. Because I still got single-spaced narratives. And I'm very frustrated that you're not listening and paying attention to formatting, okay? Mrs. Thompson, your English is not 151. That's a summer school class, by the way. This is should be 443 for the high schools and 208 for the SPC students. And then the date is going to be, I believe it's to 12 October 2021. I'm living in the past. There's no punctuation unless you abbreviate October. Don't put a period after 2. And please, whatever you do, if you put a period at the end of a sentence, it goes next to the last letter of the last word in the sentence. It doesn't float in space between it and another word. And you don't put the period right next to the next letter and stick the next letter of the next sentence there. There's supposed to be a space, at least one. I was taught two. You have to give me space to grade. Let me just say that much, okay? This is coffee versus energy drinks, and I do have at least two people writing this paper, okay? So, it does some things well, some things not as good. Many people need a jolt in the morning to get going. You can see me drinking my Coke. This is my caffeine. So this essay means nothing to me because I don't drink either one. There are two types of these people, coffee drinkers and energy drink consumers. I'm not one of them. And see how they used a colon, not a semicolon? Please don't use semicolons all the time. I have somebody who continuously puts a semicolon in place of a comma, okay? You only use semicolons to separate two independent clauses or when you have a list with internal punctuation. And that doesn't happen very often for students, okay? So don't use a semicolon when you think you can. While both beverages have a variety of flavors, there's the first criteria. So that's going to be a compare. The ingredients and caffeine content in energy drinks vary greatly to the ingredients and caffeine content in most homemade coffee beverages. So I now have my three criteria in a kind of convoluted, but it works thesis. We're going to look at flavors, caffeine content, and ingredients. Okay, so let me come back. So there's a variety of flavors. There's your A. The ingredients should be B. I'm going to make that green. And caffeine content should be C. Y'all with me? So if I'm grading, this is what this is how it should be organized. So I'm going to go down and look and see what the second paragraph says. The great thing about the selections of beverages today is that there are a variety of flavors to choose from. Yeah, that's great. That is definitely the right topic sentence, okay? So that should be yellow. I just followed them in order. I'm not even going to go down. I'm going to look at the next paragraph. Many people would be shocked to learn the caffeine content of their favorite morning beverage. Oops, when I go up here, I see that caffeine is actually the third one, but this writer did it as the second one. So it's out of order on the thesis. That's something to check. So this is blue when it should have been green. If you discover that you've done something like that, and you look at it and you go, oh, I messed up bad, I've got to do all this work. No, just change the order in your thesis. That's all you have to do. Make the thesis match what you wrote. Don't switch big bodies of paragraphs, okay? So then that should tell me that it's going to be the other ingredients, which are, the variances in these two beverages. And see how it kind of transitions from caffeine, but it does say we're going to talk about the rest of the ingredients, all right? And the variances, that's another way to say difference, isn't it? Okay, so we'll go back to the second paragraph. And we're going to say, but because of what this is, I know by reading that first sentence in paragraph 2 that this is alternating point by point. So both coffee and energy drinks come in a great assortment of flavors. Energy drinks, whoa. What do we see there? It's energy drinks and coffee. But if I come over here to this, coffee and they flip the order. Do you know what I'm saying? If you give an order, you've got to consistently follow it. So this paper does some things very well. The topic sentences are good topic sentences. They're just not in the right order, okay? Energy drinks come in a host of different fruit flavors. Do you guys drink energy drinks much? My husband used to drink the 5-hour energy drink. That might explain why he had a stroke.
They're horrible.
Oh, listen, I am so old that when I was in high school is when they developed Gatorade. And that's in the 70s in Florida. And they had some for us, and I took a drink and spit it out because I don't want to drink salt. That's what it was. It tasted like salt to me. And I love salt, so I'm not into trying energy drinks or anything else. I just get mine from the caffeine and sugar from my Coke, all right? So the peach, pomegranate energy drinks are also, for the most part, carbonated. Meanwhile, there's a transition that tells you I'm changing to another topic. Coffee is generally offered in vanilla, hazelnut, and mocha flavors. Coffee can also be further complemented with a number of tasty creamers such as pumpkin spice latte. We're coming up on fall. Pumpkin spice is out there and everything, isn't it? Peppermint mocha and caramel or caramel truffle. One great thing about the versatile flavors of coffee is that it can be enjoyed hot or cold. Okay. And while energy drinks. But within the paragraph, it's not bad. We've got good information and there's transitions. Many people would be shocked to learn the caffeine content of their favorite morning beverage. You guys are going to freak out. Most people assume an energy drink has more caffeine than a cup of coffee. Look how they correctly use a semicolon. However, this is not true. See how there's a complete sentence on the front side, complete sentence after, but however. A cup of filtered coffee actually has more caffeine per ounce, 18 milligrams, than an energy drink has per ounce, 10 milligrams. Okay, but read the sentence. That's per ounce. So if you have a 16-ounce cup of Starbucks coffee has even more caffeine, 330 milligrams, than the 16-ounce cup of Monster Energy drinks, 160. I'm surprised people's brains aren't exploding or their hearts aren't exploding from the caffeine. While both drinks have a substantial amount of caffeine, the differences in how much are actually shocking. That's okay. There's nothing wrong. There's an evaluative statement, and notice there's not a single exclamation point. I had some people who like to use them in the narrative, So we go to the next one. The variances in these two beverages are not only in the caffeine content, but also in the rest of the ingredients. Coffee is pretty straightforward, ingredient-wise. A fresh cup of brewed coffee takes ground-up coffee beans and hot water. Energy drinks, however, have a host of ingredients marked on the back of the can. Most energy drinks contain caffeine, carbonated water, amino acids, preservatives, dyes, vitamins, and we need a copy here, and possibly even herbs, not herbs, herbs. One of the most dangerous ingredients is most likely the immense amount of sugar in a normal energy drink. So, it's an okay paper. It does a good job of talking about what's in those two things. Overall, both beverage choices leave people with an elevated level of energy and concentration. There's some nice alliteration in that first sentence. While coffee can be enjoyed hot or cold in a variety of flavors, the energy drink can be quite refreshing with its carbonated fruit flavor. So we have gone back. We are restating the thesis, but we're writing long sentences about it, one criteria at a time. The caffeine content in both drinks allows a person to power through his or her morning routine, classwork, or a busy day at work. Not bad. While the caffeine levels are substantially higher in coffee, the extra sugar in energy drinks can also aid a person's energy levels. That's the wrong aid, by the way. It should be AID, this is a person, AIDE. The biggest difference in a cup of coffee and an energy drink would be the extra ingredients. Coffee itself does not contain sugar, unlike an energy drink. You only have sugar in coffee if you put it in there. The choice between the two comes down to how many ingredients a person would like to consume and how much caffeine that person requires to get his or her day started right. So it gives you, I like the conclusion because it restates that thesis, but you actually get an extra layer of analysis with comparison between what you got in one and the other when you're talking about each specific criteria. And it didn't feel very repetitive. There are some issues with cohesion, but, it probably made in the B's. But I like the fact that there were good, solid, alternating topic sentences, okay? I would say you could look at the sample papers to analyze, but don't. They're not very good. Those are actual student papers, so watch out for that, okay? I'm getting better and better at going through this every day. Okay. Okay. All right. Haley, let me email that to you very quickly, okay? I'm going to have to close out of it. Because it won't allow me to email anything, attachments, if I have them open. Sorry, Haley. I'll do that right now. New message. I'm so used to just typing Patty to my facilitators that I feel bad. All right, it's on its way to you, Haley, okay? Okay, I'm trying to make sure I've answered everybody's questions. All right, so if you've got any questions, feel free, you can send me, or ask me any questions. Or, do you need a copy of the PDF, or at least that one page? You sure? You've got all those corrections in your brain? It's hard for me to tell because you have an earphone in.
I can hear.
Are you listening to something at the same
Yeah.
time? But, so you can pay attention, you're multitasking. It's a very womanly thing to do, according to Born to be Different, all right? I think I've answered all of the questions from the students in this section. If I haven't, you're gonna need to send me a course message because I got a lot from you guys. And sometimes it's a little tough to keep up with everything. Uh-oh. It helps if I hit send on this one. Forgot to hit send. Too much going on. So that's all I've got for today. So let me walk you through doing the peer revision, because I told you I was gonna set it up and I haven't. I need to do that. So when you go into week 6, because you're gonna have to do peer revision over the weekend. Sorry. So week 6 tells you turn in a draft of the compare and contrast to Blackboard tomorrow night, okay? That's what this says right here. That's not what I did. I hit Control plus, there we go. You also you need to upload or copy and paste a copy into the discussion board. Take the grammar quiz too. You must complete peer revision of 2 other students' essays online by midnight Sunday. So you've got Saturday and Sunday to do 2 other essays. And it's not out there, okay? You turn in the draft of the compare and contrast to me here. That's a draft. I want to see one that's got the correct heading, correct spacing. Don't pull this junk of you just start typing and it's single space. Format your document correctly when you begin. And then you won't have issues later on, okay? You're going to see that the test will open up at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And here's the discussion board for peer revision. So I'm going to click on that. It tells you create a new thread and copy and paste your essay into the thread. Then you will respond to 2 other students' essays. And I apologize for the semicolon in the middle of mine. It should not be there. Answering the following questions. And they're just 9 questions. So click on that. You're going to create a new thread. Okay, and this is going to be, what you're going to first do is my essay. You have to upload yours. Once you're going to turn one into me, and the one you turn into me, because people didn't pay attention to my comments. I spent way too much time commenting on the narratives for people not to read what I wrote. Okay? All I'm going to look at are your thesis statement and your topic sentences, and that's it. So I'm not going to tell you that you have a lot of fragments in there. I'm not going to tell you you've used second person. That's your job to do the editing, okay? My essay, so I need to open up a document. I'm going to back up here. I'm not picking on somebody. I'm going to go into narrative and, I don't know if I can do this. I can't do it. I can't do PDFs. I keep forgetting that. It has to be a Word document for me. I'm just going to open up the introduction and conclusions document. Come on. Okay, so now I've got my document. By hitting Control A, I highlighted everything. By hitting Control C, I told it I wanted to copy it. So now I can go back into the discussion board, and then I just click, I can hit Control V, and I'm pasting it in. I want to keep the formatting, okay? So there's my draft, and I click Submit. So now, when you go in, you're going to see mine in here. If I want to respond to somebody else's essay, let me show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I created a thread, I uploaded my document. If I'm going to respond to my essay, I have to click on my essay. Don't click on the name. That will not take you to where you want to go. But up here I'm going to see it copied it in green. So if you want to reply, you've got to do that. There's one thing you have to do beforehand. Sorry, let me hit cancel. Delete. Okay, I got to create the thread again. Okay, so You've gotta go back out in discussion. Obviously, the first person who loads it in cannot do, when you submit your essay, you're not gonna be able to do peer revision right away unless you don't submit it until Saturday, okay? Because if people are waiting to submit it until the last minute on Friday, you can't start doing peer revision until their essay's in there. So, here's the forum. I've gotta back out just a little bit to get to the questions. Here we go. So, hold on, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna go to create thread. Okay, to get to the questions. You guys can do the same thing, you aren't stuck. Come on, let me get all 9 questions. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna copy those questions and put them in a separate document for you, okay? So I've got control copy, I'm gonna hit cancel. I'm gonna go into my draft now, and I'm gonna click reply, and then I'm gonna paste in those questions. Keep formatting. And then you just have to enter the questions, but you have to do 2 other papers. So, come on, show what's going on. So I copied that from one, and it's in here. So you put your answers in there and you click submit. Now, when you do this, turning in the draft to me gets you 12.5 points. By taking out where you write the peer revision comments in, that's gone. So you've lost 12.5 points, but I made the discussion board worth 25. Which means you now have an extra 12.5 extra credit points in that discussion board. So if you don't do it, you're losing 12.5 points. And you're losing the opportunity for somebody to make comments on your essay. Your other option is you can always go in and look at what I did and did it, but I will copy those in there for you. Okay, come on. Stick on there, all right? So, I'm gonna come back out here and put those where you can get to them more easily. Content. This will be a lot easier for you to get them this way. So now in course content for week 6, because that's the one we're on, down at the very bottom. Where did they go? Where did it go? That's a darn good question. Okay, I have to figure out where it went, because I thought I put it in this week. I probably put it in the wrong week. Okay. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me right now. I'll have to go over there. That's all I've got, guys. Let me see if I got it in there. There, yeah, they're at the bottom of the page now. So when you go into week 6, you're gonna see there's the discussion board, and those are those questions, but you can't always copy from that particular area. Here's, you can do this. You can just click and highlight. So you've got it, okay? To peer into response. So please, I'm giving you extra credit again. Please make use of it. If you don't do it, don't complain to me about your grades. I've given you extra credit. Remember, you need the subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent, agreement worksheets when you take that quiz tomorrow. It opens at 8. It closes at midnight. I don't want to hear excuses why you didn't take it. You're sitting in class. Most of you have class with that person at this time. Do it during your class time, okay? You guys are a different situation. You're adults. You do it sometime between 8 and midnight. They should get it done. But if you're not getting it done in class, then you are procrastinating. How's it going, Christian? He's not looking at me. Why would I say Christian's name? Do you know which one Christian is? The one in the front row that looks like he's on his phone. Okay. You guys have a great weekend. Good luck on your football game.
That's Caden.
You got to get peer revision done. Your final essay is due Monday night. That's why you have to have the peer revision comments done. And there's no guarantee anybody will look at your document except for me looking at the draft that you turn in. There'll be, whoever gets their papers turned in first will probably be the ones who get done the most. Okay? So I'm counting on you, Rodney. All right, bye. bye. I wonder where that other one went. Good question. It's smaller. Okay. Did I put it in week 7? Or week 5? Where did it go? Gosh, only knows. Okay. I'm copying all of the compare and contrast stuff and putting them in week 6 for you too. How about that? There we go. Okay. See if I got any more messages. There's now 9. Okay. And there's an email. Good. Bad start already. Okay. I was just adding a facilitator's cell phone into my thing. So I'd have it. Okay. All right. Kylie, I'm looking at yours right now. Okay, your thesis statement does not mention criteria, and you have to have that criteria in it, okay? Education, careers. You say careers, but it's also one of your things.
Miss Thompson?
Okay, hold on, let me come over where I can hear. Okay? All right, now it's close. Speak now.
This is Katie Pretzman, and I turned in my draft this morning, and it should be correct now.
Okay, is it a draft of the outline or a draft of the essay?
It's my outline that was blank.
Okay, did you send it in a course message or email?
Course message.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, Kylie, since we're still on, okay, the biggest problem is your thesis, all right? It says astrology and astronomy are careers many people are fascinated by, yet no one really wants to make it their career. So you've used careers in there twice, But it might, instead of saying our careers, you might say astrology and astronomy are two subjects people are fascinated by, but people are not really sure what they involve unless they look at the education, career possibilities, and beliefs. You see how I've taken the focus off of calling it a career. So what you want to do is maybe say instead that people aren't sure what the differences are between astrology and astronomy. So astrology and astronomy are scientific fields, are areas, something along that line people are fascinated by, but are unclear how they differ in their education, their careers, and their beliefs. So see how now you're not talking it's a career that people don't want to do. But you do have a lot of good information there. Well, I like the fact you've got some money in there. Oh, astrologer makes between $10 and $500 per hour? Wow. How experienced they are. Okay. So does that help you out, Kylie? I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I heard you. That's awesome. Okay. I've got to switch between the grade book and let me go in and open up the grade book for you guys so I can make sure you got a grade. Okay. All right, you got a grade on it now. Catherine, I'm going to look at yours real quick. Though you're almost gone, sorry. Let's see. All right, I'm comparing questions. Okay, your thesis must mention the subjects. Okay? You can't just say when comparing and contrasting these two. So you're comparing and contrasting people's attitudes, the cost? So you're talking about adopting a dog from a shelter or somewhere versus buying a highly bred dog. That's what your topic is, right, Catherine? So you can't say when comparing and contrasting these two, you need to say when choosing between a purebred dog and a shelter crossbreed, potential pet owners need to look at the cost, the behavior, and the health issues they encounter, okay? So you almost need to go and it's going to look more like the cat and dog one. You just have to talk about purebred versus you could call them mutts if you wanted to, all right? But you don't need to say comparing and contrasting. People should look at the cost, the behavior, and health issues involved when selecting purebred or mutt dogs from shelters, okay? Does that help you a little bit, clear that up? And you can't have a question mark in your thesis. That is a no-no. Okay, because the thesis has to be a clear statement, not a question. Let's see, hold on. Let me go over here, I'll try to write that in your thing. Let me make this smaller. I will make a couple of comments real quick.